In this video, you will learn how to properly cite journal articles in the APA 7th edition style. By the end of this video, you will be able to reference a journal article using in-text citations and reference lists, as well as identify best practices for doing so. APA style referencing involves two key elements: in-text citations within the body of your paper, and a comprehensive reference list at the end. Let's start with in-text citations. Whenever you reference a journal article in the text of your paper, you'll need to include an in-text citation. The basic elements of an in-text citation are the author's surname and the year of publication. For example, if the author's name is John Smith and the publication year is 2024, the in-text citation would be Smith 2024. There are two main ways to present an in-text citation, namely parenthetical and narrative citations. In a parenthetical citation, you enclose the author's surname and publication year in parentheses, like this. In a narrative citation, you incorporate the author's name into the sentence, and then include the publication year in parentheses. Moving on to the reference list at the end of your paper. This is where you'll provide the full bibliographic details for any sources you've cited. When constructing these reference list entries, you'll have to present the components in a who, when, what, and where format. First, you'll list the author's name in the format of surname followed by the initials for first and middle names. For example, if the author's name is Andrea L. Guzman, the name would be presented as Guzman AL. Next, you'll include the year of publication in parentheses, such as 2020. It's important to note that there is no need to cite the dates of acceptance or revision for the source. The third element is the title of the article, which should be in sentence case, meaning only the first word of the title and subtitle and any proper nouns are capitalized. Fourth, you'll list the journal title, which should be italicized and in title case, meaning all content words are capitalized. Following the journal title, include the volume number in italics and then the issue number in parentheses, such as volume 22, issue 1. After that, you include the page range for the article, such as pages 70 through 86. If the journal article has an article number instead of a page range, include the word article and then the article number instead of the page range. The final component, if available, is the Digital Object Identifier, DOI, a unique identification number for the article. Including the DOI helps readers easily locate and access the source online. Now, let's go over the do's and don'ts when it comes to formatting author names in your references. First, let's start with the do's. For in-text citations, if there are two authors, cite both surnames separated by an ampersand. If there are more than two authors, cite only the surname of the first author, followed by et al. Similarly, in the reference list, when you have two authors, you'll list both of their names separated by an ampersand. For 3 to 20 authors, you'll list all of their surnames, followed by first and middle initials, separated by commas up until the second to last author, and then use an ampersand before the final author. Here's an example with 5 authors. If there are more than 20 authors, you'll only list the first 19 authors, followed by an ellipsis, and then the final author's name. Some of you may wonder how to distinguish between first, middle, and surnames. The key is to recognize the order. The first name is presented first, the middle name appears in the middle, and the surname comes last. For example, if the author's full name is John Michael Smith, the first name is John, the middle name is Michael and the surname is Smith. If the author has a hyphenated surname, like Mary Jane Smith Johnson, you would list it as Smith Johnson, MJ. If the author has a hyphenated first name, like Jia Dai Lu, you would list it like this. When the second element of a hyphenated first name is lowercase, treat it as a single name, like Leanne Roboso. You would list it as Roboso L. Now that we've covered the basics of in-text citations, let's move on to citing specific parts of a source. This is especially important when you're using a direct quote from a journal article. When you include a direct quote in your paper, you'll want to cite not just the author and year, but also the specific page number where that quote can be found. This helps your reader quickly locate the original source and verify the accuracy of the citation. The format for this in-text citation is author's surname, followed by year, followed by page number. For example, if you're quoting a passage from page 586 of a journal article written by Crane in 2017, your in-text citation would look like this. You may also introduce the quote with a signal phrase, such as Crane said. Remember to put the quote into double quotation marks. Another key element of a proper in-text citation is title capitalization. One important distinction to keep in mind is the difference in formatting between the title of a journal article versus the title of the journal that contains that work. Typically, an academic journal contains several articles. For journal article titles, you'll want to use sentence case. This means capitalizing only the first word of the title and subtitle and any proper nouns. For example, an article title that was originally formatted like this should be formatted like this on the references list. In contrast, for journal titles, you should use title case. This means capitalizing the first letter of each word, except for function words like a, an, the, and of. So in the journal titled The International Journal of Early Childhood Learning, only of is not capitalized. When citing a journal article in the reference list, there are a few key details you'll want to include beyond just the title. First, you'll need to identify the volume number and issue number. In an academic journal, the volume number refers to the number of years the journal has been in publication, while the issue number refers to the number of individual publications during the year. When citing the article, the volume number comes first, followed by the issue number in parentheses. For example, volume 16, issue 3. It's important to note that if the issue number is missing, you can simply omit it and just include the volume number. Another piece of information you'll want to include is the Digital Object Identifier, or DOI, if one is available for the source you're citing. The DOI may appear in the following formats in an article. Importantly, if the DOI is not already presented with the prefix in the original source, you should add it to the beginning of the DOI in your reference list entry. If a DOI is not available for the source, you can simply omit that element from the citation. One thing to keep in mind is that you can generally ignore publisher information when citing journal articles. Next, there are a few other important guidelines to keep in mind when it comes to the formatting of your reference list. First and foremost, your reference list should be arranged in alphabetical order according to the first author's surname. In terms of line spacing, you want to make sure your reference list entries are double-spaced. To To adjust line spacing in Microsoft Word, select the line and paragraph spacing icon and choose 2.0 from the drop-down menu. Another consideration is indentation. Each reference list entry should use a hanging indent, meaning the first line is flush with the left margin and all subsequent lines are indented. It's also crucial that you exclude any URL or database information when formatting your reference list entries. Things like the link from a library database or the URL from a journal's website should be omitted. Finally, avoid following any suggested citation formats provided on the result page from a database or journal search. While those can be helpful references, you should only follow the guidelines of the APA style 7th edition. Now let's cover a few don'ts. First, you'll want to avoid including unnecessary elements in your in-text citations. Things like the title of the article, the publication date, the name of the journal, and publisher information are generally not needed. To wrap up, let's review the key do's and don'ts covered in this video. For do's, arrange reference lists in alphabetical order, beginning with the first author's surname. Double space reference list entries. Use hanging indents for reference list entries. Exclude URL or database information from reference list entries. And follow the specific citation style guidelines. For don'ts, don't include unnecessary elements in in-text citations. Don't rely on suggested citation formats from databases or journal search pages. And don't forget to add the prefix for the DOI. By keeping these do's and don'ts in mind, you'll be able to accurately reference the sources used in your academic work. You may refer to the APA Style 7th edition library guide from the Hong Kong Baptist University Library for a comprehensive guide that covers the key elements of APA citation. If you have any questions or need further assistance in mastering APA citation format, feel free to seek help from your course instructor and the librarians.